Okay, so this video is going to talk about opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is one of the most fundamental, but still one of the most important concepts in economics. It's the way that economists want to think about cost, and it's also the way that I think once you consider it and think about the value of this, it's the way you'll want to think about the cost or what you're giving up to do something. So let's suppose that you've decided you're going to go to a movie tonight. And here's the definition. I have it up here, but it's the same definition out of the book and the PowerPoints. It's the value of the next best alternative that's foregone. That when you make a choice, what you're choosing is you're choosing not to do something else. And it's that value of the thing that you don't do that must be the cost. So you've decided to go to the movies, and here are some of the movies that are playing tonight. And let's just say this is a mutually exclusive list of the movies that you could go to. And you're going to go one movie tonight. Each of them is about 2 hours. Let's say that the ticket's $10. You have to pay the same $10 regardless of which movie you go to. And whatever refreshments you're going to get, you're going to get the same refreshments regardless of which one you go to. Everything's the same except which movie you spend the 2 hours in watching. So when we say that the value of the next best option that's foregone, well, if you choose to go see Spider-Man: No Way Home, then you're choosing not to spend those 2 hours seeing any of these other movies. And when you think about it, we live in a world of scarcity where we can't get everything we want, and then there are also alternatives. And when you think about it here, given that you're going to spend $10, you're going to go to the movies, you're going to see one of these movies, the one that you choose to go see, well, what you've really given up is the opportunity to see one of the other movies. If you go to see Spider-Man, if you spend 2 hours watching Spider-Man and you don't really like it, then what you have missed out on is the opportunity to maybe see the Matrix 4, that a movie that you would have liked better. You would have gotten more enjoyment. So when you think about what did you give up by going to see Spider-Man: No Way Home, you gave up the enjoyment that you could have had from watching The Matrix 4. Now, so that's why we say when you make a choice, it's the value of what you gave up. Now we have 5 different movies listed here. It's important to say, in the definition, we have in there that it's the value of the next best alternative foregone. Because we have 5 movies listed here. You're going to go see one of them. That means you don't see 4 of them. But there's no way you could have seen all 4 other movies tonight other than the one that you choose to go to. So if you go to see Spider-Man: No Way Home, the opportunity cost is not the value of seeing all of these other 4 movies, because you could have only seen one of them in the 2 hours. So what you are giving up is the next best alternative for the next best movie that you would have liked. So if of these other 4 movies you would have preferred or you would have most valued seeing The Matrix, then that is what you gave up when you chose to go see Spider-Man: No Way Home. Okay, so this is one context in which we can think of opportunity cost. But this has been a very, actually, we've set it up very, very limitedly. We have a list of alternatives, and we said that, oh, wow, the cost, the monetary cost of the ticket is the same regardless of which you're going to go see. Well, what if you've got different alternatives here? And so let's change it a little bit. I'll come up with a new list here. You could go see a movie. You could maybe play some games, do some gaming or speed running, and then maybe study economics. So here's a different list. Here's a list of things you could do tonight. You could do any one of these 3 things. You could go see a movie and maybe haven't thought about the movie showing. If you go see a movie, you'll go see Spider-Man: No Way Home. Or you can spend the night gaming. Let's say if you're going to, if you're going to go to the movie, you have to pay $10 for a ticket. And so if you choose not, if your options here are study economics, gaming, or going to a movie, well, you already have the games that you're going to play, so you don't have to go out and buy any games. And you've already got a textbook in economics. So if you're going to read your competent materials textbook, you already got that. So you can read that. So you don't have to spend anything out of pocket. So here's a case where we've made it a little more complicated, a little more realistic, because now it's not just the time that's involved. There's also, in some of these cases, some costs. This is what you might more traditionally think of a cost in terms of a monetary cost. The monetary cost is part of the opportunity cost, but the opportunity cost goes beyond the monetary cost. So if you decide to go see the movie over gaming and studying economics, so like if somehow you decide studying economics is not what you want to do tonight, you decide to go to see a movie instead of gaming, then what you're doing is you're giving up the opportunity to play the games tonight. So you're giving up the fun, the enjoyment of playing games, and you have to pay $10 for the ticket to go to the movie. So in this case, if we want to think about what did you give up to go see Spider-Man No Way Home? Well, you gave up not only the opportunity to see one of these other movies if you chose to go to a movie, you gave up the opportunity to go gaming, to play games tonight. And you had to pay $10 for the ticket. Now, that $10 is part of the opportunity cost, because if you didn't spend $10 on a movie ticket, you'd have $10 more that you could spend at some other point in time in life. Maybe to get, to go to McDonald's and buy some food. So when we want to think about what's the in this context, what's the full opportunity cost of going to the movie? Well, you gave up the next best alternative. And so it's the value of the time you would have spent gaming plus, but now we've got to add in the monetary cost. So you gave up $10 and the value of gaming, because that $10, again, maybe you could have gotten a pizza while you're playing some games. Or if you were going to play games tomorrow night, you could get a ticket, or you could get a pizza with that $10, but you already spent it to go to the movie. So you gave up the opportunity to spend that $10 on something else, and you gave up the opportunity of gaming. So, but we want to think about what's the full cost, what all have you given up? And in this case, we can see that when you spend money on something, you're giving up the opportunity to spend that money on something else. Including, when you say spend it on something else, you could also include in that the idea of, okay, I'm going to save that money and then spend it at some later time. But if you save the money, even if you will put it in a bank account and wait a while before you spend it, you still eventually are going to spend it on something else. And so it's that you gave up the opportunity to spend that $10 on something else, and you gave up the opportunity to do something else with your time. Like say gaming instead of going to the movie. So opportunity cost is the full value of everything you give up when you make a choice. In this case here, between what movie you're going to take, or you're going to go see, given that you've already decided to go to the movie, well, you've already decided you're spending $10. So the $10 is not relevant as a consideration when you're considering between the movies. But if you're thinking between going to a movie and some other alternative, then the $10 is relevant. So you need to always think about what all have you given up in making a choice to do something. And so it's one of the things that the book talks about when you go to college. One of the actually, if you figure it out, one of the most important costs of going to college, especially if you're going to go to college full time, is the fact that you wouldn't be working full time. And maybe you will still work some, but in addition to having to pay for tuition and paying for books, the other costs that you have, the out-of-pocket or monetary cost, there's also an opportunity cost when you think of going to college. And the opportunity that you gave up would be the opportunity to spend your full time working and making extra money. And so if you were going to work and you can make $10 an hour over the course of a full year. If you work full time, you can make $20,000. And so if you don't work at all when you choose to go to college, well, you're giving up that opportunity to work full time and make maybe $20,000, maybe more than that, maybe less than that. Maybe you just go from working full time to working part time, but you gave up the opportunity to spend the time that you're spending and to take the time that you're spending in classes and studying. You could have been working at a job and you could have been making money. So we would have to include that money that you didn't earn as part of your opportunity cost of college. So it's the value of the next best option or alternative that you forego when you make a choice. And we always want to think about, when we make a choice, the cost of that choice is what we choose not to do. So that's an opportunity cost. It's a fundamental concept of economics, and it's also the kind of thing that can really change how you think about stuff in life. And I think change for the better leads you to make better decisions in your own life. So opportunity cost.